This occurred in 2001. At the time, I was working as a security guard at an aging business mall. The mall had 4 levels in total, and we only had 2 employees working the night shift. Because I was new and unfamiliar with the area, the captain requested Higo to accompany me. Higo had been working in the company for 4 years and was quite relaxed and pleasant to work with. It was still early to be on duty, so Higo and I played cards and chat for a while. According to Higo, this mall was set to shut due to poor business. The task here was simple. There were 4 levels, but I just needed to examine the 3 below. There was no need to check the 4th. When I heard it, I was intrigued and wanted to ask him why I couldn't get to the 4th level. Was there something forbidden up there? Higo saw my curiosity and placed a card on the table, told me a story about the 4th floor of the mall. He claimed that 3 years ago, this location had a security guard called Sun, a new employee looking for a position. That day, he was on duty at night. There were 2 people on duty at the time, so one volunteered for patrolling the 1st and 2nd floor to save time. Sun was in charge of the 3rd and 4th. Called it patrolling, but in fact, they just had to walk around. They were primarily fashion and souvenir booths. Sun was ready to walk downstairs after patrolling the 4th floor when he heard the laugh of a woman behind him. The unexpected laugh scared him to death in the middle of the night, and he swiftly turned around to inquire, then proceeded to the entrance of the corridor to verify. The weird thing was that the corridor was completely empty, with not a single person in sight. Sun walked from one end to the other, but seeing no one made him feel odd. There was no way he could have misheard anything. He paused in front of a closed-door window, and at that moment Sun felt a chill down his spine, as if there was something near that he couldn't quite put his finger on. He was ready to head downstairs when he heard more eerie laughter behind him. Sun abruptly shifted his gaze, too terrified by the scene in front of him. Sun observed something scary. He saw the mannequins in the shop behind him, gazing at him with pale eyes, grotesque features, followed by demonic laughter. Sun was so terrified that he recoiled. After a long time he stood up and hurried downstairs. Higo claimed that Sun panicked that night and was already frightened, and that he was eventually dismissed by the firm. What Higo said was extremely frightening, and I wasn't sure if he was attempting to scare me or not. But Higo was dead serious and didn't appear to be kidding. After finishing the story, he said he went to his checkpoint. I followed Higo out of the security room. He assigned me to patrol the 1st and 2nd floor while he walked up to the 3rd floor personally. The mall would shut down the escalator at night and would have to rely on an outdated elevator to go up and down. Higo stepped into the elevator and instructed me to contact him on the walkie-talkie if anything went wrong. I began patrolling the 1st level by myself, and I was still terrified of what Higo mentioned earlier. In 3 steps, I virtually completed examining the 1st floor. Then I reboarded the elevator for the 2nd floor. I pressed the button and the old elevator began to groan and rise. As predicted, this retail complex was in disrepair. Just then, something unusual happened that gave me shivers. The elevator didn't stop when it reached the 2nd floor, but instead went higher. It continued till it reached the 4th floor before coming to a halt. This terrified me. I felt nervous of something that I couldn't name, and as the elevator door creaked open, I didn't dare to take a deep breath. Thankfully, there was nothing outside the door. I immediately hit the button to lock the elevator door down to the 2nd floor. The outdoor space was extremely dark, which made me impossible to calm down. but the buttons didn't work, and the elevator door wouldn't close either, and I had a feeling that if I didn't get out of here quickly, there would be horrible creatures coming after me. At that time I remembered the walkie-talkie, so I grabbed it and dialed Higo, but the radio couldn't connect to Higo and instead created a rustling sound that sounded like interference. I dialed it 3 times in a row. I couldn't stay in the elevator any longer. Perhaps it had actually broken, so I walked out. As soon as I entered the 4th floor corridor, just as Higo said, there were windows on both sides with many mannequins inside. I lowered my head to try to walk straight and told myself not to look at them, but my curiosity compelled me to lift my eyes to examine. And it was terrifying because these mannequins had monstrous features and were staring at me. I proceeded to the end of the corridor where there was an anti-theft door and took a slow deep breath to calm myself down. The escalator was directly in front of me, and it was probably my only way out right now, so I kept walking with my instincts attempting to shine the torch forward.
Suddenly, I spotted the door, perhaps an exit, but when I pushed the doorknob, it was closed.
At this moment, the door was jammed, making me even more terrified. I tried my hardest to open it. I grasped the door handle with both hands and pulled it back as if something was held behind. But then the door slammed open unexpectedly. Not only that, but the objects within truly terrified me. There were a number of odd individuals tumbling towards me. I gazed at them in disbelief. These guys had horrible features and no limbs. I couldn't get away, and I was crushed down. They appeared to be damaged mannequins that had been packed inside the warehouse. These were the types of models found in clothes retailers. They all stared at me with glassy eyes and hideous faces. That sensation terrified me. I was so scared and took a step back. Those mannequins were scattered on the floor. Their gazes were still fixed on me. They all kept staring at me like that.
What are you up to?
Higo's voice suddenly came from behind. He returned to the security room after patrolling the 3rd floor and didn't see me. He heard my scream on the 4th floor, so he came up here to check. I was in panic while informing Higo that these mannequins looked like devils. He kicked at the mannequins laying below. Then he looked up at the mannequin's head. He looked at it and said, they were normal. Perhaps it was because I was afraid of the other tail, so I looked at it incorrectly. What was unusual was that once Higo arrived, those mannequins went back to being normal, simply a collection of damaged clothing mannequins. So Higo threw them into the dustbin. Higo and I returned to the security room. I still had the impression that those mannequins were staring at me after I had gone a few feet. I worked in the mall for 2 months before it closed. I was also not paid. Just that bizarre experience that I would remember for the rest of my life.